Hello, my quilting friends. My name is Leah Day, and welcome to episode 130 of the podcast. And yep, today's theme is it could always be worse. Or when it rains, it pours. I mean, either one works because on Thursday, we had a very, very heavy rain. It was the longest sustained rain I have ever seen in this area. We've lived here for 14 years, and I've lived in North Carolina my whole life, and I have never seen a rain shower this long, this heavy, this hard. I mean, there was air raid sirens going off because there were tornadoes through my area. It was bad. It was really, really bad. And my basement flooded. And the irony is, I just recently shared the 2020 studio tour. I just recently shared that. And someone commented and asked, hey, what is your plan? Part of your business is, most of your business is in the basement. What is your plan if your basement floods? And I was so overly confident in my response, like, oh, we live on a hill, and it's a half open basement. The back half of the house opens into the backyard, so it's not all underground. So that's never going to happen. And I was so overly confident because it hadn't happened in 14 years, but it did. Now it did. So I'm going to take you on a tour of what has happened to the basement in a bit. So be looking forward to that. I'm going to walk you through it and go through the whole basement because the entire basement is basically a disaster zone. And most of it, there's only really one room in the basement. That's the den. That is personal. Everything else is business. Is my quilting studio, my Longarm Room, my business office where we pack orders, all of it. And it has changed so dramatically in a matter of days. It is really, I gotta say, my brain is still trying to wrap around it. It is overwhelming. But I'm sitting here on the couch, and this is the first kind of sit down, butt in couch kind of time that I've had in 5 days. And this feels really, really good, guys. I pulled out this pattern. This is a sewing pattern for a jacket. And I pulled this out of the sleeve and had it out, draped over a chair to cut out on Thursday before the flood started, before the water started coming in. And so it has been sitting on the back of a chair, kind of in the way for the whole weekend, the whole crazy weekend. And now I am giving myself the treat, and that is to cut all of these pieces apart. So if you hear some rustling, that's what I'm doing. I'm just cutting apart this pattern because my idea is, mentioned last week, we're going to quilt Dream Big starting in March. That is still my plan. It is going to all have to be on the continuum frame. I was going to mix that up a little bit, but there's no choice. I had to collapse my Q-zone frame. I had to move my office. I had to shuffle the whole 9 yards around. So right now I only have one long arm, right? So I only have the 21 at this stage set up. So that's how that's going to get quilted. And I wanted to turn my Dream Big panel into a Dream Big jacket. And that's what this is for. That I'm cutting out this pattern, and I am going to first quilt my Dream Big panel, and then I'm going to cut out the pieces and make a beautiful jacket out of it. And I will share a tutorial about that later on down the road, whenever I figure that out. I first have to get this cut out, and I need to size it. I need to actually make sure that this is going to fit because I didn't realize at the time when I bought it, this is a Mrs. pattern, and I ran the sizes and I was like, I think I need the size beyond this one. I'm the size 14 on this pattern because it's Mrs. It's for teenagers, and I am and this is only goes up to size 12. So I don't know. We're gonna have to just kind of figure this out whenever we get there. Yeah. So I'm cutting this out, and then I am going to cut it out of something like probably just plain fabric. I don't know, something I've got hanging around. That is the thing with all of this chaos and mix up. It has really put into perspective what is important and what does not matter very much at all. And it has really put in perspective, the stuff that's just like, I don't care about it. Like when push comes to shove, if I am picking it up off the ground in a hurry, to save it from water or I'm just kicking it out of my way saying I could care less. That's really putting certain projects, certain quilts, certain everything into perspective. And it's really, I've talked a lot about clearing out over the last several years. This is going to definitely change my perspective on that even more. Because if you wouldn't, really feel, a need to save that project or a real need to preserve that quilt in the event that it was getting ruined, then what does that say about that project? It's really making me think about that. And I really feel like, a lot of stuff I was hanging on to it for all the wrong reasons, just simply that it was a, sentimental collection, something like my beads that I've had for so long. And I mean, yes, I love them and yes, they're awesome, but I don't actually use them. I'm not actually enjoying them. And I ended up giving up my bead desk. I gave up a couch. I gave up the bead desk. I had, several pieces of furniture that pretty much all at once, I was like, I just need to clear out. We need more space. It was not just, they didn't get water damaged or anything. It was just simply like, well, with how things are going to shift and move, I need space in my house. And so immediately just my priority was get this stuff out of here, get these extra things out of here. Josh never really liked it after I reupholstered this one couch. And it was like, all right, well, let's just get rid of it. We don't need to keep it. We don't need 2 couches upstairs. We can just have one, and that's fine. Then I had the idea to get the pod. We rented a pod storage unit because even with that, even with reducing a lot of furniture all in one go, and what I did was I called a consignment store that I saw had opened up nearby, just down the road. And they had this big trailer parked out front. And that told me that they will go and pick up from people. And this is something I did when I helped clear out my grandmother's house. And this is something that might be helpful to you too. Hospice does clear outs, but they're very, very busy, especially they actually said on their telephone messaging system that from the months of April through September, they can be as many as 6 weeks out. When you're in a hurry, like I was just in a hurry to get this done, I needed it done today. I needed it done yesterday. No, I needed it done today. I didn't want to wait. And that impatience, you got to find someone that's like, well, yeah, hungry for it. And a business like a consignment shop is probably going to be more hungry for it and more needing those big pieces of furniture, and really wanting to get a hold of those. And, I just gave them away for free. It was not even like consignment. It was just like, I just want it gone. If you come and get it today, it's yours. So yeah, did that and moved that furniture. But even with all of that, I still had so much furniture downstairs, so much furniture in the office, in the den, and it was going to be a situation of kind of renovate this room and move all the furniture in here, and then renovate this room and move all the furniture in here. And it was going to be nuts. It was going to be completely nuts. And Dad mentioned, the pod storage, and I researched it a little bit, checked it out, and the website is awesome. It's a really, really good website. And it just got an estimate, the estimate was quite reasonable because we've been renting local storage like down the road for $50 a month. And it's a pain. It's a total pain. The garage door, rant, but anyway, it's a big giant pain. Let's just put it that way. Being able to haul out furniture 15 feet off my back door and put it away and get it out of my way, it's just so much easier. And I can highly recommend that because the guy, I basically checked out the pod stuff on Saturday morning and I'm recording this today on Monday. So in a matter of 3 days, I have a pod. That's pretty cool. And I mean, we have kind of a weird driveway and, and it was mushy because it's still been raining. And he tore up my yard a little bit. So just understand if if you're dealing with a flooding situation, you might get a little bit of a torn up yard. But to me, it's like, well, I can bring in gravel and fix that. That doesn't bother me that much. Having the ability to move my couch from downstairs out, get that furniture out of this way. I have an oven downstairs, get that out of the way. So that way I can do this renovation easily. That is valuable to me. And I imagine that we're going to probably have that pod there for at least 3 months. And that's okay. It's just 3 months that I can store stuff and keep it safe. And we set up a dehumidifier out there with a hose, so that way it's going to stay nice and dry. Because it is, it's still very wet. It's still raining like cats and dogs outside. So the dehumidifier running, I think that's going to keep everything safe. We've kind of bagged up all of the cushions from the couch. I'm going to keep an eye on everything too. Just, be in and out of there every day. Probably, stashing stuff, picking up stuff, that kind of thing. It's going to be an ordeal. It really is. But so far, so good on all of that. Definitely learned a lot. And, see different areas that I'd like to improve. Like we've got a low-hanging power line that's kind of annoying. So I'm going to see about taking care of that in the next couple of months. And this whole shakeup has just been really, I'm looking at it now going, wow, I was really letting a lot of stuff, like I was kind of pushing a lot of stuff down for one day. One day I'll get that plumbing thing that bugs me fixed. One day I'll get that floor fixed. One day I'll get that bathroom fixed. One day I'll do this. One day I'll do that. And then now with this flood, it's like, well, all the one days became right now. And so the reset on this is going to be hard because there's just so much work that has been left, like putting more gravel on the driveway. That's going to add to it. But at the same time, I've been putting that off, but now it has to be done. So I can't put it off anymore. So, yeah. As you can tell, it's just a little, this is the first time I have sat down and actually tried to relax since all this happened. It feels really awkward. I'm sorry if I seem a little more spastic than usual today, guys. But I have been running at 180 miles an hour, and just sitting here slicing this up is almost a little bit difficult because it's like I feel like I should be going and moving something or doing something or ripping something or, talking to somebody about something. I don't know. It's been such a flip from what I expected to be working on right this second. Josh and I were focused on a book. I had recorded 2 chapters of Mally the Maker and the Queen and the Quilt. I've been working on my patch doll. This time last week, I was sitting in front of a nice blazing fire, finishing up my double wedding ring quilt. And the really funny thing about it is, having put that project away, I now am really considering pulling it back out again, because in a time like this, when everything is chaos, what I'm craving is something that I know really well, something that I can do without having to think and make decisions. And the night before the flood, I had cut out a wool hoop quilt that in wool, and to do decorative stitches and stuff on it. And it's at this stage so overwhelming to even think about starting that, because I have to make decisions. I have to figure it. I have to learn. I have to be have enough brain power to think through things and figure things out and be working out, and it's just stitching stuff on wool, but oh my gosh, that's too much. I know it sounds crazy, but it's just, you have the project that you're used to doing, and then all of a sudden you try and do something different, and it's just too much. It's just totally too much. That's why I'm slicing up this stuff, this pattern right now, because I can't even consider going and playing with that wool project. So I might just pull out the double wedding ring again, because in all honesty, it would be comforting now. I'm still adjusting. It's so weird to have gone from having a certain mentality to having this happen, and then it just flipping everything around on its head. Yeah. I'm still wrapping my brain around it, guys. I really am. But there is one very good silver lining. I mean, overall, many things, many things I can say. It could have been so much worse. It could have been so much worse in that it could have damaged one of my computers. It did not. It could have damaged my hard drives. It did not. Everything's okay. I did not lose anything. And I have been working ahead for the last month. I've been really, really good about that. In January, I worked ahead and I shot videos and I scheduled posts. So when you see that I am still producing the heart-shaped mini blocks and the free mission Quilting Fridays, please understand it's because I shot ahead and I scheduled it and I got everything ready to go in January, and it was just extremely lucky that I did that, because if I had not, I would have to take a month off. I would have to. There would be no way that I could do all of this at once. And so that is really lucky, but I'm still looking at, okay, well, I'm a month ahead. That's great, but I still need to keep up with that. So I am needing to get back to filming in a major way. And that's why we rearranged, and you can see behind me is a sewing machine, and I am in my living room. And so we have basically brought the studio upstairs to my living room. I'm gonna do a full tour so you'll be able to see everything. And yeah, I mean, it's been a major shakeup, but it's gonna work. And I still have the Crafty Cottage, of course, so I can continue to film out there. And then I've still got the 21, the long arm downstairs, so I can still film there as well. So yeah, it could have been so much worse, guys. I feel so very fortunate for how it went down. It is still a major shakeup, and it is still rocking my world. And if I look tired, it's because I am tired, because I have been running at 180 miles an hour this whole time, and I'm going to continue to be running fast and hard because I've got to continue to run my business while I'm managing this renovation. And I'm doing a lot of the work myself. Dad, Josh, and I are doing a lot of the work ourselves. So it's just a lot. It is. But this is life, It's a disaster. But in the end, yeah, it could have been a lot worse. And in the end, I'm finally going to fix all these things that have been bugging me, that I've been putting off and pushing down the road. And that feels good. So overall, it's going to be okay. Okay, so Mini Block Monday, I'm going to have to share photos because I don't even know what happened to the box with all my blocks in it. So I'm going to have to find that. Everything's gone. Everything's missing. I don't know where anything is. Okay, so here's a picture of our really cute on point heart, Valentine heart. It's super cute. You can find this linked up at leahday.com/mini. On Friday, we learned one of my new favorite quilting designs. It's called Open Heart. Super cute. It's gonna work kind of like stippling and heart paisley combined. Really cool, really easy and fast. It's gonna be a great all over texture. So go check out those designs. And let's see here, what else? Have a lot more members in the Quilt Friends Club. I am super sorry, you guys. I did not pull that. I didn't pull the names. I will read them off next week's, I promise. And as for our giveaway, I will also pick somebody, announce it to the club, and I'm gonna be sending one of these cute, awesome IKEA hexagon boxes. I think, what is this thing? I don't have the sticker on it to know what it's called. But this is what I stored my super awesome. It's like a hexagon box that opens out into 3 little drawers. Yes. And I will pick a winner and announce that to the Quilt Friends Club. Again, sorry guys. It's just I sat down. I was like, I didn't pull that yet. Chicken and egg. I keep saying that. Chicken and egg, chicken and egg, chicken and egg. What I mean by it's like so many things that I've been dealing with this week have been, I need to move this thing, but in order to move this thing, I got to move this thing. Or I need to do 3 things before I can do that thing before I do this thing. So it's like, what do I do first? There's a chicken and then there's an egg, and which one comes first? So yeah, all right, I'll pick a member and I'll announce that. Sorry guys, I'm a little all over the place, but here is the walkthrough. You can see what has changed. Please go check out my 2020 studio tour and you can see just how much has already changed in 5 days from a month ago. How things were a month ago to how things are pretty much today. It's nuts. I'm still wrapping my brain around it, but we are making the best of it, and that is awesome. So thank you so much for watching and enjoy. So let's get started on our post-flood tour. Coming downstairs, and this is the den. This is where we watch TV and play video games, have a nice big TV, and that's where we have all of our video game consoles. I still need to collapse that, but as you can see, this room was definitely affected. I had some laminate wood floors that I laid actually when I was pregnant with James. Had to rip them up. Of course, we've got a 180-gallon fish tank here, and that's not really a movable piece of furniture in any sense. So what I decided to do was my dad gave me a sonic saw for Christmas, and I asked him if he thought I could cut out the floor around the fish tank, and actually that worked out really, really well. So that's what I did. And what I'll probably do, our plan right now is to epoxy the floors. It's a layer of epoxy style paint, and then you coat it with a polyurethane sealer, that completely seals it. It's a really good waterproof style flooring. So my plan is to do that in here and pour that and just pour it around the fish tank. I don't know, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but that's my plan right now. And then we've had fans and blowers and two dehumidifiers going just to try and dry out the floor that's still against that wall. But this room was really bad, and we had actually flooded this room. Another fish tank had started leaking in this room, so I'd already had experience with this, and the floor was already looking really, really bad. So, not the end of the world that you lost that one, but it was just kind of bittersweet to lose a floor that I had laid myself. This is my kitchen studio, and I've shot many podcast episodes standing in front of this wall. And yeah, this room I still need to clean off this entire wall, get all of my tools, all of my AccuQuilt Go stuff, all my stabilizers and stuff cleaned up and taken out of here. Everything's got to go because this room, the walls are okay. The back wall in the den is probably going to go because I think that there's black mold behind it. But these walls weren't really affected. They didn't get a lot of moisture. It was just the floors that had to go. And I hated those floors since we moved into this house. So, I mean, on the one hand, I was saying in our studio tour for 2020, I shot that like a month ago, that I had always wanted to change those floors, but then hadn't done it because it would cause such a disruption in our life and our business. And then now this happened. So, I mean, I guess you kind of have to be careful what you wish for. So, yeah, I kind of have to be careful what you wish for, definitely. Back here, these are the original cabinets to the house. And I have also wanted to rip these out for quite some time, but I don't know. It kind of is really going to depend on the budget. I mean, obviously this was not expected. This was not budgeted for at all. So it's really going to depend on how that stacks up. I'd love to put in a window on this back wall just to brighten up the studio. It always feels very, very dark down here. So I don't know. We're going to play that by ear and just see where the budget is with all of this. Now, this is the room that was really affected the most. This is my laundry room, my original laundry room. A couple years ago, I moved and had a stackable washer and dryer put into an upstairs bathroom so that way I didn't have to come all the way downstairs to wash clothes. So this room became kind of a catch-all storage / dyeing area / leatherworking area. I mean, it just became major storage. And this is really where the water started coming in. So it started coming in the back corner here beside my washing machine. And it was so silent and so slow that we just didn't notice it. And then in the amount of time that it took Dad to cut a couple bolts of Dream Big panels and a couple bolts of French fuse, he was wheeling our cutting thing back in here, and oh my gosh, there's water all over the floor, and it had already gone all the way down the wall and into the kitchen next to the front door, the back door there. And yeah, it was already kind of coming in and then into the den on the other side. I still have a fan blowing against that wall, so that way, hopefully that will dry out all the way. Probably going to do my epoxy testing in here, where I'll tape off kind of maybe a 4-foot section and pour down the paint and give it a test and how it smells, that kind of thing. There's just a lot of different brands out there, and I'm curious to see how it stacks up, how it looks, if it works. I don't know anything about it, so we'll just have to experiment and see. And I already have rented a floor buffing system just to clean up the concrete. And this is the thing, guys, I want to do a lot of this work myself. I need to do a lot of this work myself. I don't have flooding insurance. I wasn't anticipating this. I can do a lot of the work myself, and, this is the thing, that's what tool rental places are for. I can pick up a tool like a floor buffing system for, a couple $100 and rent it for a week and, be able to do that job and not have to own that tool. I can just rent it for a little while, and that really works. Thankfully, I am so happy. I'm so thankful that this is the only room, this is the room that was not affected by this flood, and that is my Longarm room. So continuum frame, my Unique 21 A-OK, and this carpet, it got a little bit wet in this corner because that came in from the kitchen. The water actually seeped underneath the cabinets and got in just a little bit into that corner, but I set up the dehumidifier and fans and everything else, and I think it's okay. It was not bad. And, we caught it in the office to stop it from coming in, the water coming in from that direction. So I feel really comforted. This is the room that we renovated this past summer. It would be awful to have had to rip up the carpet and do that whole 9 yards with such a big machine, such a big frame in here. But as you can see, because it is the room that survived, it is now become the catch-all of everything. And I have just been piling stuff up on the frame, on the rails. And I have got to get in here and clean all this up because, yeah, there's quilting videos I need to shoot. There's a dream big panel underneath all of this that I need to get it set up here and start quilting. So I'm going to have to just kind of excavate my way through it and then figure out how I'm going to deal with this, because obviously, things like binding a quilt was a lot easier when I had a big table to work with it, right? So this is going to be interesting as far as how this is going to change our workflow a little bit. Now, one other room did not get affected, and that is this closet, and that's Josh's fish tank closet underneath the stairs. Thankfully, that didn't get water in it either. Now, this is a weird room in my house. We call it the pipe room because it's full of pipes. This is where all the pipes from upstairs come into one big junction here. And I use this room primarily as business storage. And I kind of knew that if any room in my house was going to have water issues, it would be the laundry room and then this room, because so much water is coming in here, right? With the pipes. And then we also have the hot water heater. So I always planned on that. I always anticipated that. It's just some insulated sheeting here on the walls behind my shelves. So it's not even real wall covering really. It's just, I just tacked that up. I need to dry lock the back cinder block wall. That will definitely eliminate some moisture. And then when I put in the metal shelves, I made sure to set up the bottom shelf to be up off the ground. And I can say the smaller shelves that I have over on this side, I did not set them up high enough. They were really actually fairly low. They were about 2 inches off the ground. And then as I went in and put products back and stuff and put boxes back in, I have lifted these up. So now they are significantly higher. I can vacuum underneath them. I can keep it a lot cleaner. And then it's also just going to be a guarantee if this happens again, there's not going to be any issue with things being stored in here. And I got to say, all of these boxes are books. They're full of books. Dream Goddess planners, Leah Day's Goddess quilts, Mally the Maker and the Queen in the Quilt, and Explore Walking Foot Quilting with Leah Day. These boxes are full of all of the books that we sell on our site. And they were on the floor in the kitchen, which ended up getting water in it. And I saw that was a possibility. So I very quickly started pulling the boxes up and putting them on the cutting table. And that was just a reminder to me just not to store books in stupid places. Get them in here, get them on the shelf where they're safe. And I didn't lose anything. So everything is fine. Nothing got water in it. We had dehumidifiers running, so everything is good. There's not even a smell. There's not, and I'm real sensitive to smell. I'm a smell kind of person. There's no smell in the house at all. So that was really, really lucky. But yeah, I need to go in here now and just... A lot of these boxes and bins are just going to have to go out into storage, go out into the pod, because I know that we might end up rearranging those shelves a little bit, with the renovation. Some of those walls might be moving and changing and shifting. I don't really know. So it's definitely going to be a mix-up just to see how things go. So this is our office. Please go back and watch the 2020 studio tour, because you will see just how much this has changed in a matter of a month. Yeah, we had that green carpet that's on the mantle here. That was wall-to-wall carpet through this entire room. And I came in after we noticed the water in the laundry room. I came in here and there was already a 1/2 inch of water in the bathroom. And that water hit the bathroom and then came straight in here. And then we had these holes in the concrete. Didn't even know about them. They were underneath the carpet. They were underneath the tile under the carpet. And these holes, they started basically kind of siphoning in water into the room. And they're all down the wall. So they were just original. This was just original fault of the construction of the house, that they did not patch those holes well, and they go all the way down to the ground. So, I think this was just, I don't know, it was just a bad mix of events. It was the most rain that we've ever gotten in the longest amount of time ever. So I think it was just a freak of nature kind of thing. And so thankfully, the one positive, I mean, there's lots of positive here, right? But, we keep all of our products up on this mantle. This is a very strange room. They designed the house with 2 fireplaces, a nice open fireplace, and then a space for a wood burning stove. And so there's a second chimney behind these shelves and this mantle, which lifts it up about 6 to 8 inches. So it's just the perfect fit. It always has been the perfect fit for all of our products. And these shelves, so that kept everything safe. There was no worry about any of that getting wet. It was mostly just our computers, which were, we had 2 computers down on the ground where the CPUs were down on the ground. So we had to quickly turn everything off and get all of that off. When the water started coming in, I could see it could impact the Longarm Room, which is right next door. So that's why that night, water started coming in on Thursday afternoon. That night at 7 o'clock at night, we were in here with box cutters cutting up the carpet and hauling it out. And that's the thing, like I said, I do a lot of this work myself because if I had waited for a contractor, I'd still have green carpet all over my floor. I would still have water all in my house. I'd still have that smell. I would still have the potential of water getting into my Longarm Room and having to rip that out too. It would be like quadrupling the work here, guys. So yeah, I'm going to come in here with a box cutter and cut that stuff out and get it out in my truck and haul it off. I'm not going to wait for something else to get ruined. I'm not going to wait for the walls to get ruined for a contractor to come in and do it for me. Yeah, so that feels good. It feels good that we did that and got that all knocked out. Now we kind of set up kind of a rudimentary, a little bit stripped down packing area. This is going to be, Josh and I can both pack here on this little folding table. These tables are probably going to flex in and out as needed, for the remodel as it goes on. But we are still open for business, guys. I mean, we're still packing and shipping. So if you want to get some quilting tools, definitely come and place an order at leahday.com. That helps us out a whole bunch. It really does. Okay, and this is a big deal. This is the bathroom. This is so embarrassing. I've never shown you guys this because it's such a terrible bathroom. Okay, so I wanted to rip this out since I toured this house back in 2006. It is awful. It's like a homemade built shower stall and they didn't do it right. They used the wrong kind of grout in the bottom, so it goes spongy when you use the shower. So we haven't been able to use the shower for years. Even though, it kind of would be convenient, with doing outside work and chickens and stuff just to come in here. But yeah, it's just nasty and manky, and it's like a homemade sink and it's horrible. No way to get it clean. And that's why it just always gives me the heebie-jeebies to even be in here. So I am actually, I gotta say, it's a little bit like, well, I'm kind of glad that happened because now instead of saying, one day I'll do my bathroom remodel, one day, I will finally fix that thing that has been driving me crazy for 14 years. I'm going to go on ahead and gut it and do the whole 9 yards. Yeah, we are going to cut out that shower stall, maybe move the toilet. I don't know. I haven't decided that yet. Definitely a new sink. And yeah, do a total gut job on that bathroom. I've always wanted a pocket door, so gonna need to, sorry, I know the lights are really weird here, so guys, so sorry if it gets a little strange, but this is the wall where my desk was, and I'm gonna basically kind of rip this out and put in a pocket door. So I need to extend the wall by about 4 inches for that pocket door to come in. That will make the bathroom seem bigger because the door will no longer be taking up a lot of space. And I've always wanted to do that. So that'll be really cool. And that'll take up a lot less space in there. And then, just generally make it a really, really nice bathroom. So yeah, I am actually kind of looking forward to that. I mean, I know this is tough. I mean, it's total chaos. But I kind of, just said to Dad and Josh, it's like, well, we've already bitten off some chaos. Why not just chew the whole cookie? Why not just get the whole 9 yards? But that is pretty much it. It is, it's a little nuts. I wasn't anticipating this. This wasn't on my plan by any means. But, you kind of have to just rise to the challenge of what you're given and make the best of it, right? That's all we can do. So let's go upstairs and I'll show you my rudimentary quilting setup. This is really rinky-dink in a lot of ways, but in other ways, it's actually really, really working. This is a great way of setting up an office, for one example. So Josh has set up his desk. James and I actually carried that up for him. And then I got my treadmill, got that going again. And it was very, very heavy, but brought that up and I set up my 2 computers, and then we'll set up another computer right here. It might seem like a lot of kit, but sometimes I'm uploading on one computer and that's taking up all the memory to do that. And so I didn't jump on another computer, and some have certain programs that others don't. So yeah, it actually is necessary to have that many. And then we have set up a sewing machine. This is a sewing machine that was in the hallway downstairs, now has set it up behind a couch. And that is one of the tables that was my cutting table. I kind of broke that into 3 pieces. So one went there, one went there, one went to storage. And then we've got the treadle in the corner. So yeah, if Dad and I are working together, then we can be cutting and sewing together side by side and it'll work. We can get our prep done. I still have the crafty cottage, so I'm still able to film out there. So all around, I feel like this was, there were some really bad things about this. This is going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of cash. It's going to be expensive and difficult and chaotic. And I don't know, my estimate is 6 months to get back on track, to get everything finished. And that's, August. That's looking at August, which seems so far away. I really hope it's going to go faster than that. But, on the other hand, it's like, well, it could have been so much worse. I could have lost machines. I could have lost the Longarm Room. I could have lost so much more. I could have 6 inches of standing water in my basement right now, right? So I am just so thankful that it has not been nearly as bad as it could have been. And it has created a lot of chaos in the rest of the house. I have a lot of cleanup to do. As you can see, I'm doing a little 360 pan here. But I'm cleaning up as I go, trying to straighten up just to make the upstairs a calmer place where it's just like, everything is kind of going to be put away. We can kind of escape from the chaos that is downstairs, hopefully, and that won't be so bad. I want us to still be able to have our fun times together and it not just be 24/7 construction, renovation, the whole 9 yards of that. So, but yeah, that is pretty much it, guys. It has been a disaster. It really has, but there is a silver lining. I'm going to have a half of a brand new house in a few months. And that is kind of cool. I finally get to fix these things that have been driving me crazy for a really long time. And that is pretty awesome too. And it's just a matter of figuring out how to balance all of this with everything else that we're doing. I can say the number one thing that you can do to help us out is to continue to buy from leahday.com. Join the Quilt Friends Club at quiltfriends.club. Do something small like that. That really helps us out an enormous amount. We are going to discount the waterfall Bargello workshop because we did get flooded and this is a waterfall quilt. I thought that was kind of appropriate. We're going to take that workshop down to $9.99. And when you buy that, that just lets us know that you have seen this podcast and you know what's going on and you want to help us out. And you can check that out at leahday.com/waterfall. Another thing real quick, in February, we have a huge sale on the Q-Zone hoop frame. It is the best deal ever. So if you are interested in that, come and check it out at leahday.com/Qzone. And Josh has just gotten back from taking James to karate. You have any parting thoughts about this chaotic flood?
Well, I hope you all enjoyed the walkthrough downstairs. It could have been a lot worse, though.
It could have been a lot worse. That's what we're both saying. So thank you guys. Come and check out more podcast episodes at leahday.com/podcast. Until next time, let's go quilt.